because you should have to put less and less of that soluble salt material in. And lime is a soluble salt.
Yes.
It's like the same thing as any phosphates that you'd be putting in, or nitrates or anything else. As you go over time, you start cutting that back more and more and more. It's like each year, 50% less, 50% less, 50% less, to the point where it's like, why are we bothering? It's a handful, you know?
That's what I was going to ask. Over time, that becomes less necessary.
Right,
with
absolutely.
all the elements.
Yep. Because when you think about the plant material that you're putting into that compost pile, that came with all the nutrients balanced. They were plants once upon a time.
That's
all
right.
plants have more or less the same nutrient balances. So that's what's going into that compost pile. As we compost, all we should be doing is blowing off some of the carbon dioxide. So that means all the other nutrients are increasing in concentration, but at the same relative balances. So when we take that, put it back on the paddock, you don't need to be putting any other soluble nutrients out into the system. You're putting it in everything the plants require in the compost, in the proper balances.
What we transport off in milk, which is not as great as beef or anything like that, I know, but that should be enough to counterbalance.
More than enough, typically.
So, because that was one of the things I wondered over time, whether that would be able to be, like you wouldn't have to worry about putting any added nutrients into it.
Right. So it's, as you've probably observed, as you've stopped using the urea, you've watched your clover come back.
That's right. Well,
so,
I've still been using a bit of urea because it's been so slow this year, but even so, what's happened in our paddocks has just been sort of very eye-opening, because we were predominantly ryegrass and just couldn't get clover to grow. Even if we sowed it into the paddocks, it was just a battle to keep it there. And Dad, my father, like, he was very negative about what I was trying to achieve to start with, but when he drove up onto our volcanic place here, that is basically changed from solid ryegrass to like a real mix now.
And it's mainly liquid nitrogen, although it's broke a little bit this year, but it's mainly liquid nitrogen over the last couple of years that's done that.
So I haven't used any solids at all. So,
and as we get more of that clover back into the paddock, you should...
That's a nitrogen fixing thing.
Right.
So,
so you should be able to stop all of the soluble nitrogens going into the system. And there is just this transition period where we're developing the biology in that soil so that you're getting the nutrient cycling, you're getting the nitrogen fixation. Ultimately, you shouldn't have to put any of those soluble nutrients back in, just the compost so with the organisms.
Basically, we will get to the point, even if we go heavy this year, that we can, as you were saying, back that off and use a very high quality compost over rather than a
one of the things that most people don't really understand, and even most soils people don't understand, is that you have all the nutrients you need in your sand, silt, and clay. All the nutrients, thousands of years worth of plant production in your sand, silt, and clay.
All we've done is blocked it all up.
Well, it's sitting there in a plant not available form, and how do you take that nutrient and make it plant available? That's the biology.
That happened to me 2 years ago when I decided that we were doing something wrong, and I just couldn't put my finger on the pulse. But even from applying more lime to the soil, it's amazing. I think we were 2 years into our lime program, weren't we, Tony, before I come to you? And even that was amazing how the change had happened already, and we'd stopped using the synthetic fertilisers back then, so that's when we went on to the liquid nitrogen. But I still didn't know it. I sort of had an idea I was doing somewhat right, but I thought it could be done better.
And understanding exactly what you are doing and moving in the right direction.
Most of what I know from what I've read. So because I had no idea where I was going, and no one was there really to guide me. Everywhere I turned, it was all synthetic, and I really
people
didn't
trying to
have a
sell
way.
you stuff.
That's right.